I teach the real estate pre-licensing class in Connecticut, and I came upon this study guide that I think if you're thinking about getting your real estate license anywhere in the country, then this national study guide is for you. And I'm telling you that even from a coach, from a mentor, from someone like me who teaches the class every single week. You know, there's days when I actually get a little bit tired of it, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, I gotta learn, I gotta teach them something new. I need to figure out the best way in order to teach my students. And this cheat sheet is awesome. In fact, I want to show you some of the things about this real estate cheat sheet and how it will help you. In fact, one of the things we want to go over today, maybe you need some help, which usually this is one of the biggest topics. So if you're taking any real estate licensing class, usually one of the biggest topics that the states want you to know is about contracts. Why? Because you need to know how to fill out contracts correctly. And if you wanted to get some information about contracts, well, guess what? The graphics on this cheat sheet are awesome. The explanations are amazing. So it even starts off with, hey, what's a contract? Well, a contract is a legally enforceable agreement between two or more competent parties. To be valid, what must a contract have, my friends, right? Well, guess what? It has to have consideration, right? It has to have offer and acceptance. It has to be for a lawful objective. That's right. You cannot ask somebody to sign a contract with you to do something illegal. That will not be enforceable in a court of law. It has to be in writing, okay? And it has to be between competent parties. Now, there could be some attorneys or some know-it-all kind of people on here who could say, hey, you know what? It doesn't have to be in writing, right? And you see here, it gives you this awesome acronym, COLIC, so that when you go take that state licensing exam, you can be that person to remember these things. And like I said, some people might be like, well, you know, it doesn't have to be in writing. Every single contract does not have to be in writing. Well, that might be true, but in most states, to be enforceable in court, if it's for a real estate and something worth more than $500, in most states, it does have to be in writing. But remember, this is a real estate guide that's thorough. It's a cheat sheet for you. It even tells you the types of contracts, bilateral versus unilateral, right? Well, what does that mean, Rob? Well, are there promises by both parties or are there promises by one party? For example, a unilateral contract, only one party makes a promise. So like, for instance, an option contract. Hey, when was the last time one of you did a real estate option contract? Well, that might be something you might want to look into. And guess what? That is a unilateral contract, because in an option contract, only one party makes a promise. That's right, you heard me. Only one party makes a promise in an option contract. Well, how does that work? Well, think about it this way. If you are thinking about buying a property and you make an option contract with the seller to say, hey, seller, if I give you $5,000 today, will you let me buy this home for $400,000 in 6 months? I'd like the option to be able to do that. So I'll give you $5,000 today in exchange for the option to allow me to buy this home in 6 months for $400,000. Now, maybe you need to work on your credit. Maybe you want to do a rent to own for a little bit and you're not sure about the best way to handle things. Maybe you just need some time to get some business taken care of. Well, in 6 months, if you're the buyer, can you come back and say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to exercise that option. So you know what? You can keep the 5,000 and I'm going to move on in my life. or depending on whatever transaction, whatever type of deal you make during that transaction. Yes, you can do that. But remember, for that option contract, when we talk about different types of real estate contracts, what that really means is that the seller is giving you the option. They're giving you the promise that they will sell that property to you in 6 months. And you can or you don't have to buy it in the long run. So this page right here in our real estate cheat sheet is pretty awesome. Not only does it have a great acronym for COLIC, right, for contracts, consideration, offer and acceptance, lawful objective, right, in writing, right, where required by law, and competent parties, but it also has the different types of real estate contracts. So we just spoke about bilateral versus unilateral, right? When we talk about listing agreements, well, you know what? Those are bilateral because what does the seller do in an exclusive right to sell? Well, the seller makes the promise that if that agency puts through all diligent efforts to bring a buyer, then that seller will pay a commission, right? Pay a service fee, and that real estate agent will once again do everything they can in their power, in their lawful authority to be able to find a buyer for them. So that's what really that's all about. Now, so that's a bilateral agreement too, is an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Now, there's also, when we talk about different types of contracts, right, we also talk about express versus implied. I know this might be hard for you to read, but this real estate cheat sheet, right, is available for you to purchase as well on my page, right? You probably see the link there, and if you don't, all you need to do is reach out to me and I'll send it over to you, right? But we can talk about express versus implied. Well, express is something that's clearly written, right? So for instance, we have the excellent real estate agents. I know some of them, like me and my team, where they are going to talk with you specifically about buying a home. They're going to talk with you specifically about the buyer representation contract or agreement. They're going to talk with you about who has obligations. What are the buyer's obligations? What are the agent's obligations? They're going to talk with you about compensation, right? And how would they get paid? And that will be expressed in writing, right? So a buyer written a representation agreement with me or someone from my team is in writing. Now, we also have implied agreements, right? Like we talked about, expressed and implied. And implied is what has gotten a lot of people in trouble over the last few years. Why? Because implied is just by their actions, right? So if you call up a real estate agent and ask them to see a home, and they just meet you over there in 1 hour. Well, first of all, is that somebody who's professional, that maybe they don't know who you are? They don't know if you're pre-qualified. They don't know if you're dangerous, if you're a safety hazard or not, right? And they're just going to go meet you at a house. They're going to put someone else's house in danger, right? Maybe someone else's family in danger. And so that is the problem with implied contracts. Like, for instance, they think that just because they show you a home that they're going to be your agent. Or you might think, well, just because they did show me the home, I have to buy the home with them. And that is not how it goes in real life, my friends. I can get all kinds of comments. Some people will be happy with me talking about this. Some people will be upset, right? But it does not go by who showed you the home. It goes by who started a procuring cause, a chain of events, and signed an agreement with the buyer. That is the buyer's agent. Implied contracts for buyers are very, very dangerous because no one knows who's technically representing the person. And that becomes an issue. And they just do it by thinking, well, I showed the house, so I'm the one who should be the one who's going to get paid. And it does not work that way, my friends. Just like if you had your real estate license and your neighbor Mary came up to you and said, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about putting my house on the market. I'm going to put it up for sale. And so if you know anybody, let me know. And right away, you call up all your clients and you call up all your friends and you say, hey, Mary, I got this guy, Joe. He wants to look at your house tomorrow morning. Can I bring him over? Sure can. Now you bring over Joe, and Mary and Joe just love each other, and Joe's going to give Mary the very nicest offer that Mary could ever want, and Mary's so excited about it. And so now you call up Mary and you say, hey, Mary, so what do you think? And she says, well, I did speak with Joe on the side there when you went to go answer your phone, and he said he's going to make an offer. So with that, are you should you be that person to receive a commission? Is Mary obligated to pay you a commission? And so the answer is no, because you did not have an agreement with Mary. You see, through implied, right? And I know it might be hard for you to read. We're talking about express versus implied contracts. You might be thinking, well, I brought Joe over there, so I should get paid. No, that was through your actions and it was not in writing. So be very careful with those types of things, my friends. And if you're learning from this, I'm very, very happy. What we're doing right now is we're going over this thorough, well done, beautiful graphics, all kinds of information on this real estate cheat sheet. It's like it took all the information that I know about real estate and guess what? Made it easier for you to learn. So this might be something that you want to look into buying, and you should see the link there in order to buy it. Or if you don't, just DM me and I will get you over the information so that you're able to actually purchase this. I think it's one of the greatest things going. Now, as we're talking about contracts, I also want to talk to you about a different type, executed versus executory. So that's a very interesting concept when we talk about different types of real estate contracts. And you will have to know this if you go take the real estate licensing exam in your state. In almost every state, they're going to want you to know this. Now, executory usually means that there's still things in progress, still things to be done, right? Maybe you signed a purchase and sale agreement and you still need to do the inspection. Maybe the mortgage commitment letter has not been given to you by the lender yet, right? So that's executory. It's still in progress, right? And while I'm talking about this, well, we might as well mention Zillow. Causes us a lot of problems, causes us a lot of confusion, because guess what? Most of the time, and I'm sure it's different in all these different MLSs throughout the country. And when I say MLS, I'm talking about multiple listing services. But let's say in the one that I'm in Connecticut, well, what happens is when we put a property under deposit, continue to show, or under contract, continue to show. Guess what Zillow shows it as? Accepting offers, right? So it seems probably most of the time when you have an executory contract, that there's still things that need to be done, and Zillow takes the information from your MLS, and I can't tell you that for sure, but most likely that Zillow takes the information from your MLS, then they put it in their system as accepting offers, which creates a lot of confusion with people because, as you can see, it's under deposit, it's under contract. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, the other type, and you can probably see these two people shaking their hand in this bottom corner, right? I'll probably put it up here, like make it a little easy for you there. And look at how great these graphics are. Look at how the people who wrote this book, right? This real estate pre-licensing or real estate licensing cheat sheet. I mean, everything's here for you that you need, right? And so this is a great tool for you. The other contract is executed. And executed basically means that all obligations have been fully performed. We still say, okay, if we get all the signatures and initials, it's an executed contract. But when we talk specifically about real estate, we're talking about everything has been fully done. And if this is helping you, I appreciate those likes. Thank you so much for those likes, Mrs. Nunez. I really appreciate you. So this, hopefully, all this information is helping you out. And once again, I think this is an absolutely awesome cheat sheet for you. So kind of just to show you what we have here. Once again, if you were to buy this real estate exam cheat sheet for the National Study Guide, right? And so what I did want to show you today, which I'm going to do some more videos, is the page on contracts. But you can see there's a page on agency, practice of real estate calculations. Oh man, I know how you feel about real estate calculations, but we can help you with that in our class. Financing, property ownership, valuation and marketing analysis, transfer of title, property disclosures, land use controls. Here's just some of the information which you need to know when we talk about you getting your real estate license. And so today, thank you, Mrs. Nunez, for all the likes. Really appreciate it. But today, what we spoke about specifically is what is a contract, right? And we talked about the acronym for it, COLIC. Right, we talked about consideration, offer and acceptance, lawful objective in writing, and competent parties. And then we talked about the different types of contracts, like, for instance, bilateral versus unilateral, express versus implied, and executed versus executory. So that's what I have for you today. Don't miss out on this cheat sheet. It's pretty awesome. And of course, if you have questions about real estate, you need some help, you want to talk about buying, selling, investing, all you need to do is reach out to me. My name is Rob Rosa, and I'm hopefully your favorite real estate broker. All right, my friends. Well, God bless you. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday. I definitely wish you the best, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.